Welcome to the Authentic Spiritual Journey, a weekly podcast featuring real and practical spiritual conversations from diverse perspectives here on the Experience of the Soul podcast channel. Today, episode 197, That Which Brings Me Peace. And now your host, Reverend Cynthia Alice Anderson.
Hello and welcome to the Authentic Spiritual Journey. My name is Cynthia Alice Anderson, otherwise known as RCA, and I welcome you into the studio with us this morning. I'm here today with my producer.
Hello, everybody. This is Dave Croft. Thank you so much for joining us for episode 197 of the Authentic Spiritual Journey. As always, welcome you to a brand new week. Hope you are doing well.
Yes, we love having you along the journey with us. I was going to say along the ride because so many people have said they listen in the car.
Yeah.
I love the idea of people cleaning to the show too for some reason. I think sometimes moving physical energy can be, can be really powerful. As a matter of fact,
I listen to podcasts when I cook, when I'm out there grilling. Yep.
Yeah, I know. That's awesome. That's awesome. So we welcome you into the show. Friends, I can't believe how many shows we've been doing and how we are all over the world. I thought after our 200th episode, I really want to update all the numbers we always give you, because right now I'm kind of guessing based on where we were headed for 200,000. So, but I know we are in over 80 countries, and now it could be way more than that because it's been months probably since I checked. So we'll give you that in shows coming up and do a couple special shout outs, because it means the world to us that in many parts of the world, people are trying to wake up spiritually. And I'm always really curious too how you find the show. So if you ever want to just drop us an email, go to our website, experienceofthesoul.com, and send us a little email. Let us know. Put a note on the YouTube where you're joining us from, in the comments. And, we'll do a shout out your direction, because we want you to know we do feel connected to you, even if you are in like Afghanistan. The first time I saw that somebody was in like Iraq and Afghanistan, I almost cried. And then I found out one of the people who was watching was a U.S. serviceman, on inactive duty. And that really, gave me a lot of hope that somebody, on night duty, probably sitting there listening in the middle of the night in the desert, to what we might have to say. So blessings, friends. We love, love, love when you share that. Yeah.
Absolutely. It's hard to believe that we are 197, quickly approaching our 200th episode. And just really, really exciting and excited about that. And I know we've got a very special show planned for episode 200. And there's just a lot going on. There's a lot happening. There's so much new energy. It's springtime.
Yes.
And now
yeah.
Now I seem to remember, like, you have some things kind of coming up, right? Don't you have some new things happening?
Exactly. Well, coming up just next week, the new mastermind starts. And friends, I'm pretty sure the 8 p.m. is full. The 10 a.m. is very specifically for ministers and healers. So you may fall into that category if you're a massage therapist. I have one yoga studio owner in there, and that's a lot of fun too. So yeah, check out the site, my CynthiaAliceAnderson.com site for information on that. And I finally planned another Dream Big, Live Big, a basics course, because so many people that took that years ago have really moved forward. And I know some of them are going to take it again. They're like, I want to regroup on the basics, which is what inspired me to do it again this summer. I thought, well, most of my main people who took my classes have taken it. And I was talking to people. It's like, oh, yes, we have, and we will again. And it's a pretty big commitment, though. It starts in August, and it's a 7-week, commitment. So there's few things that people want to commit to for 7 weeks these days. But this is a way to, look deeper and see what dreams are still under there that haven't been yet realized. So I'm not even sure that one's on the site yet, but it's going to be starting, like I say, in August. So just give that some thought. And we're doing early bird pricing as well. It's only $250 for the 7 weeks instead of the $300. So I think if you pay before July or something like that, it's $250. So I'm trying to give people a deal on that by doing a early registration. But what you learn in that class, you will benefit from for years. And so that anyway, that's a great class for moving forward. So. And today's show, Dave, is what?
The title of today's show is That Which Brings Me Peace. That Which Brings Me Peace.
Yes. Well, the reason I asked for it right then, as we were talking about it, is what I've learned is that if there's some unrealized dream or there's something I really want to do and I'm not giving voice to that there's an angst, there's a kind of like a little frustration. It's almost like a little subtext of, in my mind. So that idea, that which brings me peace, it's like, well, what is mine to do? Well, I know what's mine to do because the thought of doing it, the act of doing it brings me peace, and so when I've done, like major life changes or, recently, I've made a pretty big life change that's pretty fun, which is restarting martial arts. I've always loved martial arts, and the style I'm doing is very physical, very, very, very physical. It really is about the body and protecting oneself. And it brings me a lot of peace to do it. And I love martial arts. I've done martial arts off and on over the years. And I've done Kung Fu. And of course, usually a part of that is the practice of Tai Chi. And when I was really little, I did karate, so it's really... And the kind of martial arts I'm doing now is actually called eskrima. It's Filipino street fighting. So it's really intense. And you use bamboo sticks and knives and hand-to-hand combat. So it's very intense. I was joking with a friend. The last class, I was the only woman. So it was a little intense that day. I was like, hey, guys, take it easy. But that's been a lot of fun. And so it brings me a lot of peace to be in my body more, right? Like that's been a wonderful change for me. And I'm actually taking a break from some of my therapeutic work. It's like I'm just really guided to work on the body right now. And in Western thinking, I was just talking to a friend who, by the way, is going to be coming on the show soon. She's from South Africa. And we always talk about in our conversations how how so much of what we do therapeutically is so cerebral in Western thinking, right? And so there's something about engaging the body. It's like the complete opposite polarity, that helps bring balance. And so if every little thing is overly, overly analyzed, at some point you got to just live and integrate the teachings you've been working on all this time. Somebody said to me one time, I have done every single class of yours, like for the last 5 years or something. It's crazy. I'm going to take a break. I said, I think that's great. And they were like, you do? I said, yes, I think that's great. It's fine to take a break. I said, I'm always here if you need. The goal of the work we do spiritually and therapeutically is to move out and live what we've been learning. And so, yes, we want to learn. Yes, we want to grow. Yes, we want to evolve, my 3 favorite words. But sometimes that involves a new practice. Sometimes it involves going to the beach every week to get all those negative, what do you call them, negative ions, and and shift your energetic vibration. Sometimes it means going on a long hike in the woods and connecting and releasing stuff into nature, and that cannot be thought through. That has to be felt. So in my work now, the question I'm always asking, and I've mentioned it a couple times in the last few months, the question I ask is this bringing me peace? Is this bringing me peace? And I've been looking at ways sometimes I give away my thought or my opinion or my power, and then I'm at odds with myself. Right? So I'm coming into, no, this is what brings me peace. This is what my decision is. Getting clear with myself. Yeah, getting clear with myself is so important. And I know I'm in alignment when I have this feeling of peace. So, I think the question we're all asking ourselves at the moment, well, am I at peace? Or am I constantly living in a situation that I'm out of alignment? And we all have little ways we do it, but when we have these really big ways that we're constantly living out of alignment, what happens is we start to manifest physical things. We start to manifest emotional issues. We make up stories about things people are saying and doing, and it really heads us down a road that is not healthy. But when we are at peace with ourselves, when we are making decisions that are in alignment with who and whose we are, life feels very, very different. Life feels very different. So the question I ask is this bringing me peace? And so my goal is the decisions I make now are to be in alignment with that which brings me peace. You see how that touches every area. I'm doing a little work around my diet. I'm doing a little work around, again, my physical body and what I need. Because I'm being more active, I don't want to limit what I eat, but the types of food I'm putting in, I want to make sure really supportive of what I'm trying to do. So if I'm trying to get more healthy and then I eat sugar every single day, that's out of alignment with my goal. You know what I'm saying? It sounds like simple, but it's like rather than, okay, I'm going to go off all sugar and I'm going to deprive myself of anything I like. No, I'm not meaning that. Because see, to me, that brings angst. But it's like, okay, what could I do food-wise that would bring me peace? Well, I know my morning routine. I've got that down. So I need to figure out in between meals how I can satisfy my hunger with things that are really, really good for me, that are going to give me staying power rather than quick energy that then I crash, an hour and a half later. But see how this question really impacts everything. How I parent is impacted by this question. Yeah. That which brings me peace. That's the decision I want to make. That which brings me peace. Now, having said that, I did not say that which is easy. And we always hear what we want to hear, right, on these spiritual things. And sometimes people hear, I should do that which I like. So sometimes the things that brings us peace is very difficult. And I'm going to give you an example. Telling the truth can be very difficult and yet very necessary. Think about that. Think about that. Sometimes we have to tell the truth and it can be uncomfortable, but it can definitely bring peace for all concerned. If you're pretending, that doesn't bring peace. And again, we talked about this a few weeks ago, and I've noticed in my life, I always work on things kind of in this circular way where I'll work them a little bit and then I'll take a little break and then I come back to it. But I think this is really, really important to think about, that when our family of origin, we learn how to we think it's get love. What we're really usually getting is approval. But usually the behaviors we have as children are so we can get love. So the people around us approve and we can get the love we need. Well, as we age, if we keep doing those things, usually our thoughts and feelings are not matching our words and actions. And we're just doing what we think we should be doing, to get people to love us rather than telling the truth. Sometimes you need to tell the truth. So if on a regular basis, your thoughts and feelings are different than your words and actions, you're at odds with yourself. You're not at peace. And I don't mean saying everything you think the moment it comes to your mind. There was that show, I don't know if, Dave, if you ever saw it, it was called Lie to Me. And
Yeah.
Did you ever see that show? And there was a guy on there who constantly told the truth.
Well, and he could read facial, like body language and facial tics, and basically he was able to tell if somebody was lying.
Yes, the main character, could tell, and so he stopped bomb attacks, and it was based on actual research.
Mm-hmm.
That it doesn't matter if you live in New York City or in the bush of Africa, way out in the middle of nowhere, all expressions of shame and happiness and guilt, appear the same emotion-wise on the face. And so, yes, it's called the study of micro expressions, I believe.
Yeah.
But one of the characters in the show, not the main character, but one of the characters that worked in the office, he always told the truth. And so somebody would say, how are you doing today? And he would say, great. I'm really hungover. And by the way, I'm really attracted to you. Like to somebody talking to him. And they were like, yeah, that might be a little much. But I loved his character on the show because I thought, wow. So that's not exactly what I'm talking about. So sometimes people can take what I say to the nth degree. But I'm assuming there are certain social constraints, that you don't say to your boss, oh, and by the way, I'm totally attracted to you in the middle of a meeting to tell the truth. But what I'm saying is you want to be at peace with yourself, right? And so I trust your journey. I trust you enough to know that sometimes we do things we don't want to do because we don't want to ruffle feathers. And in fact, sometimes we need to speak up. Like sometimes the thing we need to do, the thing that will bring peace, is to speak our mind and then let it go. Yeah, and then let it go. Usually, though, we make speaking the truth, say if it seems a difficult situation, a bigger deal than it sometimes is. Like speaking the truth can be very freeing for all concerned, because usually if the truth is not spoken, then there's this kind of unseen wall that starts to build up, So just think about that. Is there a way I'm not speaking the truth that I need to be that would really bring me a lot of peace? Yeah, think about that. Am I doing that which brings me peace? Am I doing that which brings me peace? Give that some thought, and we'll be back right after these messages. Welcome back. We're glad you're with us. I hope you've been giving some thought to, what we've been talking about. I kind of went for it right away in the show, just getting into it.
That's okay. By the way, I was able to dig up a link to Eskrima, which is also known as Arnis and Kali.
Yes,
so
well,
I'll put a link to that in the show notes if you're curious about it.
If you're curious, what is RCA doing with herself and her time these days? Yeah, it's real different. Well, if you've watched any of the Jason Bourne movies, do you remember one of the movies? I think it was actually the first one where he was in the office and he uses a pen like a weapon. Do you remember that one, Dave?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
I think it was Bourne Identity. Anyway, that's all Eskrima training. And it's basically you learn to use whatever you have at hand, to defend it. Like all martial arts, it's not about going out and starting a fight. It's really about protection, of self and those you love, right? So if you were ever in a situation you needed to be able to defend yourself, that you could. Sometimes people are surprised when spiritual people, do things like martial arts, but I want to tell you, friends, we're human just like you, and it's important, I believe, to be able to protect oneself. If I were somewhere and somebody was threatening me or my family, you can bet I would do everything I could to protect myself. I wouldn't say, right now I send you love. I would say, no, back up. And, that's a big no. That's a boundary. You don't threaten somebody's personal safety. Yeah. And as a minister, I have had it happen a couple of times. And I was actually talking to a friend who is a single woman who has a business, and one night was leaving and she was threatened physically, and that's what got her into martial arts, and she ended up doing it for years, and she also studied Eskrima. It's like a very natural way to learn to protect yourself. Yeah,
and it's also, on top of all of that, it's a good cardio workout.
Yes, all the classes are 2 or 2.5 hours.
Yeah. Yeah, so I've considered taking like Taekwondo or Tai Chi or even boxing or something like that. Just if anything, just for the physical fitness aspect.
Yeah.
Of it.
Well, there's also in martial arts a real family aspect. Mm-hmm. It's you seem to all have an understanding. That. There's just a family community aspect. Anyway, where I go, there is. And, it's in this kind of warehouse part of town. I mean, it's rough. It's like one of those it's like something you'd see out of a old movie where somebody goes to train, like it's like down a dark,
like a training montage
alley
or something. Well, and there's also a great deal about, respect and about,
yes.
Mutual respect to your opponent and that kind of thing. And respect for the art form itself and the body and understanding the body. And so,
yeah. Well, and what I'm starting to do now is, in addition to my class, I'm going to study one-on-one with a trainer. I want to get really, really good. I really love it. I love how my body feels. And I was looking for a new program, and it's been really great. It just, every time I do it, I feel good. And I feel like for the very first time, I could really protect myself. Just me, myself, and I. I wouldn't need a weapon. I wouldn't need anybody else. I can protect myself physically. And there's something very empowering about that. And it feels very safe. It feels very, very safe. And so that's been a lot of fun. And again, to feel safe brings me peace. Mm. Yeah, I grew up in an environment that was not safe. So it's important to me as a grown-up and as a parent for my child to have a way and a place of safety. And I have cultivated that over the years. I have created that. There's no abuse in my home or in my life. It's all that is never going to be again. There are boundaries. There are boundaries. That brings me a lot of peace. And I probably should mention, I know that Donna Bevan Lee did a show on boundaries. I just, on the channel, it's been some time, I think, when she was first starting, but Donna Bevan Lee does a show, Healing Your Family Legacy, and there's a lot of great information, about boundaries on her show that works its way into a lot of shows because of her teaching. But anyway, friends, so think about, what am I doing right now? What would bring me peace? Right? What would bring me peace? And it is a process that happens over time. It can't all be decided at once. It's not like, okay, what in my life needs to change? What brings me peace? I'm going to go create havoc and change everything overnight. No, not that. What I love about the deeper teachings, and when I say the deeper teachings, to me, this is a deeper teaching. I'm not going to say, okay, go do 1, 2, 3. Meditate 5 minutes a day. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that this is a way of being in the world that is different. It's like if a colleague, says something at a meeting and you can't quite let it go. How are you going to work with that? Is it yours to work in yourself? Is it yours to speak up? What brings the most peace in that situation? Do you know your colleague is going through something right now, and so you're going to hold it until, you can work it out? But see, this question is really, how am I being responsible, with my thoughts and feelings, right? How am I being responsible with my thoughts and feelings? And are they matching my words and actions? If I say I love you and secretly I'm talking about you, you will never be at peace doing behaviors like that. Or if you say I support you and I'm undermining you when nobody's looking, well, that's not going to bring me peace. Those are real egregious things. But you know what? They happen every day in life. And in the real world, this is what goes on. People say one thing and do another. That doesn't bring peace. So there's always a time of dealing with the emotions. I've had a few situations recently where I've had to really deal with the emotions of the impact of a behavior. And then once I could unwind it, it's like, oh, all is well. But I had to unpack the emotions because we are emotional creatures, right? Things happen and we're going to have feelings. Sometimes it's because of family of origin stuff. Sometimes it's because we feel it's a betrayal, or it's an attack on us, or we feel unappreciated. Whatever it is, those emotions are going to come up. But to work with those and figure out what's happening, then we make our decision about what brings me peace. But just acting from the emotions, or the reaction that we see all around the world right now on the news every day, all those reactions are not going to bring us peace. They're going to bring us more trauma drama, which is what I like to call it. More trauma drama. Oh, you did this, blah, 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 And I'll tell you, I had a situation yesterday that brought that up in me. Somebody hit me from behind and started to drive off. It just happened in my car. I was driving, and a friend of mine had just called, and I was sitting at a light, and the guy hit me, and I started to pull over, and he sped off, and I said, oh, no. And I went after him. I was calling the police as I was driving. I thought, no one is hitting me and driving off. No. And it was really the emotions, that went in me were pretty big because my personal safety was threatened.
Everything okay? Car okay? Everything? Or
car was fine. They pulled over. I said, you cannot hit it. The guy was high, I said, you can't hit somebody, sweetie, and drive off. You can't do that. So let me have your number just in case. And, that was pretty intense. Then they both got out of the car, these two guys. And I was like, okay, I'm safe. I'm dealing with the emotions. Wow. So it's hard when life happens. I mean, I'm not saying, oh, yeah, I had a lot of peace at the moment the guy hit me and drove off. No, I was totally in the emotion of it. Totally in the emotion of it. It's like, oh, no. No. I'm dialing the police and driving. And I said, I need to protect myself. I don't know who this is. I don't know what I don't know who these people are, but no. And I thought, I'm going to get their license plate and report them. I wasn't preparing to talk to them. But when they pulled over, I got out and said, no, this is not okay. And he goes, I didn't know I hit you. And I burst out laughing. I said, well, you may not have, but you did. I said, and my dog is in the back. I have a safety concern. So I will get your number. I will check this number in the car. And, I don't have my phone. It was just so funny. So I had to deal with all the emotions of that and still try to not be a total jerk, because when your personal safety is threatened, that is rough. That is rough. But I got it. Everybody got calmed down and we both drove off peacefully. But that was a difficult one. And, but I thought I could let this go. I bet you a few years ago, I would have let it go. But I just could not do it. I said, no one is going to do that to me and not be held responsible. No. I will call the police. I will get a license plate. No. If I would not have done that, I think I would have said, why did I let that guy do that to me? But no more. No, people are not going to push me around. I'm not going to be hit and run. No. I also was mindful, protecting myself, and okay, here's two guys, obviously high, getting out of the car at the same time. It was like, okay, So, I mean, this is real life. This is real life. But I left going, I took care of myself. That was good. I took care of myself. I was always aware of where the guys were in relation to me. I was always aware of what my emotions were doing. And I said, I'm sorry, this is upsetting because you hit me and drove off. You cannot do that. And he said, I'm really sorry. And then they said, oh, we work at a restaurant. You're welcome to a free dinner. I go, that's not necessary. I said, that's not necessary. All is well. I just am taking care of myself. And I understand that you didn't know you hit me. No problem. No problem. But I've got your name and number and we'll move on. But I mean, friends, this is life, What are you thinking, Dave? Your look is so intense.
It's so just, I because we didn't talk about this, before we start. So I'm hearing this fresh for
the first time
on the air, and I'm just replaying, because you are relatively small in stature, and this kind of smaller woman, like chasing these guys, and I'm replaying in my mind these two guys getting out of the car, and like, are you on
everywhere,
the phone with the cops
totally
actively? Are you like, okay, officer, they're getting out of the car now, and then
it was pretty crazy. I mean, I'm sure there's somebody listening to this going, my God, you went after him?
That could have gone so sideways. I mean, they could have come out packing or something, or if they were like all crazy, or
Well, yeah.
I mean, I'm not at all surprised, by the way. I'm not at all surprised that you're like, nope. Just nope.
Nope.
Just nope. You will.
Well, all I was going to do is get their license plate and call it in. But then when they pulled over, I thought, okay, this is good. I mean, and there were people around, I live in a, very nice upscale neighborhood. People are always out walking their dogs. And, there's a little restaurant where people are sitting out like a block and a half away. So there were people out and I felt pretty safe. Plenty of cars and, and all of that. There were witnesses. Yes. But I know I can protect myself. And I knew that I was not going to pay for somebody else running into me if that was the case. And I thought, no, you don't get to hit me and drive off. No. So everybody's going to be scared to come talk to me now. They're going to be like, she's going to go up, use this all Jason Bourne on me.
I have a cell phone. I'm not afraid to use it.
Exactly.
And not like that. I've been studying Eskrima.
Yes. And my dog is in the car. He's fierce. He takes somebody out.
He is not necessarily small of stature.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. So, actually, I haven't told anybody that. I just realized I just told 5,000 people or more. But
well, I'm glad to hear you're okay and that car is okay. And now you're not still in your truck, right? Are you?
No, I'm in a smaller car now.
All right.
Yeah,
because I could imagine you with your big truck, like coming after.
Oh, that would have hurt him if he hit the truck. Yeah. Well, and the guys, of course, tried to minimize it, and so these behaviors, it's so funny. This is what people in the wrong always do. They make excuses and they say it didn't happen or it's no big deal. Why are you making a big deal? He goes, ma'am, there's no damages. I said, that appears to be the case. I said, I'm not suing you. I'm checking out the fact that you hit me and I want to get out and look at my car and my bumper.
Yeah.
So back away, and I'm going to check this out.
Accidentally tapping somebody at a light or something, that happens. Okay. That doesn't make you like a terrible person. Driving off, now we're in terrible person territory.
Well, they were so high that, it was like, oh, bless you on the journey, dear friend.
Terrible
you need a recovery.
Right.
You need a recovery meeting. So, but I'm not sure I would recommend anybody doing that, but it was what felt right to me. And it was the only thing I know that would have brought me peace. I said, no, nobody gets to push me around. I'm done with that. And that felt like I really advocated for myself in a powerful way. And I was fine, but I know with an accident, when you get hit from behind, you can end up with chiropractor bills and all that. And I thought, I'm going to protect myself. No, that's not okay. That is not okay. And I have a dear friend who's actually helped me with a couple things, making sure, my home is so secure. I have a really high-end alarm system. I have a wonderful fence. It's like I'm protecting myself. No, you don't get to do that. And that's brought me a lot of peace. It's brought my family a lot of peace, So I've been working with that question, does this bring me peace, or I do that which brings me peace, for, I think I said a year earlier. No, it's got to be more than that. It's probably a couple years, and just realizing that there were some places where I was a little bit out of sync with what I really needed to be doing. It wasn't like awful or anything, but it was like, oh, I think I let myself get talked into something that really I did not want. And I'm sure people listening now are going, you didn't speak up. But, we all have ways that we can lose our power a little bit. If it touches into childhood, family of origin stuff, it's real easy to forget, oh, no, this is not what I want to do. I've learned, over the last a few years with doing my own business and teaching online, there are so many decisions to make in a given day, about look, about your brand, about who you hire to work with you and for you, people that donate to you. For the very first time in the last couple of years, I didn't take money from a couple different sources because it just felt like the gift wasn't clean and clear for the work, and I refused the money. It was the only thing that brought me peace. I just couldn't take the money, from this organization. It was out of alignment with who we are and what we do. So, but I just couldn't do it and feel at peace. So that's been a real interesting journey for me over the last couple of years. So, for instance, I've talked about all this. I hope that you're hearing or gleaning some kind of lesson. I love to share a little of my journey, and I'm always appreciative to hear that it helps when we talk more deeply about just the life things that we go through, because I know how it works. You're applying it to yourself. You're applying it to your own life and seeing your own journey. as you move forward. So I hope this has supported you. And speaking of support, I want to mention that I have several resources now that people use in my courses. I have a feeling check-in. I have a mission vision page. Well, the most popular and commonly used aspect from my work on my shop page on my website is called the morning pages. And the reason I'm mentioning these now at the end of the show is that, honestly, I don't think I ever would have thought to put these into a tablet form, but a dear friend of mine named Vicky, who she said, I love a good worksheet. She said, what if you just made these into a tablet and then I could just buy the tablet and I wouldn't have to run to the store and copy all these? And I said, oh, that's a great idea. Now, printing has really gone up, like astronomically, because wood has gone up, so the paper's higher anyway. But I got a local person, at least for these first ones, I can offer the tablets for only $15, which is an amazing price, which includes shipping. And then even if you buy 2 of them, you get 2 tablets of 50 sheets for $25. So it's the morning pages, and the idea with the morning pages is every morning you get up and do this, and I'm going to tell you, working these sheets really brings a lot of peace because it gives you a lot of clarity for the day about what's yours to do, when and how to do it. And sometimes I'll do a session just on how to use these because there's a real deepening. You can use them with the chakra system and the 12 powers. So I may even do like a one-night class coming up on these since there's a new product out about it. But I encourage you to go to my website. It's cynthiaaliceanderson.com/shop. It's on the shop page, and you can order them there. Well, we usually get them out within a week. We're not Amazon. We're a small operation of 1 or 2, kind of 1.5 employees. So give it, if you have a little patience, I'm happy to send you a sheet for free. No doubt. Happy to do it. But the tablets do cost just because of the printing and the staff time it takes to get all that together. But anyway, friends, we're happy to have you with us today. Always blessed that you join us on your journey. And we always lift you in prayer for God's highest and best in your life. Many blessings.
We hope you've enjoyed this episode of The Authentic Spiritual Journey here on the Experience of the Soul podcast channel. This channel is made possible because of listeners just like you. If you would like to support the channel with your tax-deductible contribution on an ongoing basis or through a one-time gift, head over to experienceofthesoul.com/support. The Authentic Spiritual Journey is copyright 2022 Cynthia Alice Anderson, all rights reserved. Our theme music is composed by Dave Croft and used with permission from RR Hot Publishing. The Experience of the Soul podcast channel is a production of 818 Studios.
Hey friends, Sean here, your Experience of the Soul producer. I want to take a moment to tell you about something truly exciting. The Soulworks online community, created by your host, Cynthia Alice Anderson, and available on the Mighty Networks app. If you're looking for a place where you can explore your spiritual path, connect with others, and grow in a meaningful way, then this is for you. Soulworks is so much more than an online community. It's a safe, inclusive space for spiritual exploration, self-discovery, and personal transformation. Inside the community, you'll find everything from uplifting spiritual studies to soul-centered growth practices, meditations, affirmations, and so much more. It's a space where you'll always be supported and never judged. The best part, membership is free. You'll have access to powerful resources, inspiring content, and a supportive group of like-minded people who are all on their own unique spiritual journeys. And if you're ready to dive deeper, there are premium options available to enhance your experience with a live Monday night talk series and extended, deeper meditations. If you're seeking a place to connect, grow, and nurture your soul, we would love to have you join us in the Soulworks community and see where this journey can take you. Visit my.soulworkscommunity.com today.